Good evening. It is almost 8 o'clock on a Monday night, although the days have zero shape right now. I feel like the days are really super like shapeless. I'm going to be talking to my buddy Brad in just a minute. He's going to jump on and we're going to talk about his new book, his creativity. You might know Brad from Kid President. You probably saw him all over the place. Like, he's hung out with Beyonce. That's a really amazing sentence. Hung out with Beyonce. Brad's got a brand new book. Huge fan of him. We've done a bunch of events together. And this is like, is this the king of all Instagram Live right now? Like, do you guys feel like everyone is doing Instagram Lives? I know I'm doing them way more than I used to, just because we're all stuck. And it's this chance to, like, it's this portal into somebody else's world to go, hey, like, I'm stuck, you're stuck. How do we do this? How do we think through this? So I'm pumped that we get to do these. But yeah, Brad's going to check on in a minute. I'm going to accept his, hey, let's talk request. Hey,
Hello.
are you in Tennessee?
I am. I'm keeping it warm for you.
Great. Well, I have 15 questions written down. Like, I want you to know I did some prep work. I don't know if you're getting that from everybody you're talking to right now, because you're probably doing a lot of these.
Amateurs. Everybody, yeah. All amateurs.
Exactly. I mean,
I wanted to talk to Jon Acuff.
I'll show you, like, what? Look,
whoa.
Look, amazing. I have a lot of questions. Favorite notebook, favorite markers. How far out do you plan your life? I go real slow, like favorite notebook, and then I hit you with how far do you plan out your life? So,
whoa.
Yeah, just get ready. I just need you to know. So Brad and I have been friends. Do you remember the first time we met, like, physically?
Where was it?
It sounds like, when I say, do you remember the first time we met physically, it sounds like we danced. That's it's a little too intimate.
Yes.
We met in Portland at the World Domination Summit. Exactly. We were in, like, but it was in like an off-brand, locally sourced REI store that had like 7 items. Like, you and I were both in there, and they had like a big canoe and like one jacket and like a golf ball, and they were expensively priced. And we were just like, oh, hey.
Yes. The best thing in there was, like, I was like, oh, I guess we'll just talk. We can say,
yeah, we talked for a minute.
This will be great.
We both had that face that was like, are you going to buy anything? It was like, we're not. I don't even know if this stuff's for sale. I think we might be in an art gallery right now, or it's a Portland sporting goods store. No idea. Maybe the same thing.
And I remember that event because there was a rehearsal for all the speakers, and yep. I was already nervous about this event because I was fairly new to being on stages in this way, and then I had seen you speak years ago, and I was like, oh man, he's a real speaker. There's like a real, this guy.
Yeah, like, I had a belt on. I probably had a belt on. And I was like, I'm about to do some stuff.
Yeah, it was. I saw the belt and was intimidated. And
yeah, but before you got on, I was saying you've met Beyonce. So I feel like once you've met Beyonce, like, let's be very clear. Nobody posts Beyonce is like, hold up a second. This guy is like niche interesting on Twitter. Like, I'm getting overwhelmed. Like, this is too much. So, okay. So people, like, tell us about meeting Beyonce. That's not even on my list. We'll just get to the list. Okay.
Just get out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just get it. Cause people are going to if I don't cover that, they're going to be like, thanks for not asking about Beyonce. So what was that like?
Well, one thing is that this was fascinating to me is that, you know, when we went to the White House, President Obama, to meet President Obama,
sure.
There's this whole process. There was security, but that was understandable. There was even more lead up, prep work, conversations, meetings about what I would say and not say, who on staff could touch things, who couldn't. And it was far more protective
of Beyonce than Obama?
Yes.
Wait, did they ask about your hat? Where they were like, how big is the brim?
Right. It was everything. Literally, like, one of the things was this guy said, promise me, he said, I need you to say that you will not touch Beyonce. And I was like, okay, that's, yeah, I thought he was joking. Yeah. He's like, no, I need you to verbally say it. Like the same way that they do on planes, where they say, we need you a verbal confirmation that
you can handle the exit row.
Yes. So I had to verbally, I will not touch Beyonce. And then we get in the room and we're filming this interview, and Robbie is a kid. He's, I think, 10 at the time.
Yeah, sure.
And in the interview, she says, come give me a kiss to Robbie. And we'd already talked, no touchy. And she's like, give me a kiss. And it's like a test.
That's a booby trap. That's a booby trap.
No, what do I do? But anyway, he did it, and we were all safe. And I ended up getting a hug. But she was.
That's why I feel okay about this interaction, because I knew my handlers told me up front. They're like, "It's gonna be fine. Brad won't be able to touch you." And I said, "I need you to say that out loud. I don't want Brad touching me." Like, what interview? Like what interview are you giving back rubs? I'm sorry. I'm just I'm an elbow guy. Like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you, one, because I love what you do. Two, because I think people need what you're doing now more than they ever have. And three, you just released a new book. So you wrote a book called Becoming Better Grownups. And I've seen Twitter. There's a lot of people that need that book, that need to become better grownups. So why do you think, like, my question is, what's the best part of being a grown-up? What's the hardest part?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, for one, there was a kid who, lots of kids would draw pictures. I interviewed kids to ask them what would it mean to be a good grown-up. And it's mostly third, fourth, and fifth graders. And there's a fifth grader who made something that I ended up, in the process of the book, just pinning up on the wall because it captured everything. He said, being an adult means you have a big responsibility and you can do whatever you want. And I thought, he gets it, because it's really cool. You can do whatever you want, but it's a big responsibility.
It's both sides.
It's both, because he's thinking, oh, we can eat ice cream. We can do whatever. You can your house can be green, like all that stuff. And then he's saying, but you have responsibilities. And that's the dance. Like, it's this great joy and this great challenge. And I started the project because I was feeling that. Like, I had done this big project that tapped into childlikeness and joy and wonder, all of that. And yet I was terrified about the next steps, that somehow I would lose that. Somehow I would not walk through this the way I could, the best way possible.
When did you start the project? It was part of the listening tour, right?
Yeah. So we were at this point where we were winding down Kid President. Like, we were ready. Like, Robbie was going back to school, and I was going to move into doing other projects. So I was writing for some kids shows on television. I was doing some work, and yet feeling like I didn't know what my next project would be. And I was terrified about it and petrified. And so I was getting these emails to Skype with classrooms, or to come visit classrooms. And it was not to speak, not to do it. It's literally, we want you just to come and see what our kids have been working on. Like, they were inspired and they created something. And so as I started doing that, it was one of the few places in the whole world that was asking me not for something, but just to show up, just be you. We just need you. And it was very healing. And so I started just showing up and asking kids, read to me, tell me what it would be to be a good grown-up. How could I be a good adult? And I would put tape over my mouth sometimes and hold a sign that says, this is a grown-up you can say anything to, go. And they would just spill these hilarious things, these ideas about, like, that they've always wanted to say to adults. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them. I was like, I don't know what to do with this, except I need this right now. And it was only several states in where I realized, because I wanted to get all 50 states, and I realized that I have to share this. The kids are like telling me, almost in hopes that I'll make sure all the grown-ups know.
Yeah, you were like an emissary from the grown-up world, and they were saying, here's a message in a bottle. Make sure this reaches their island.
Yes, please. You promised, right? You're going to
Yeah.
tell them.
You're going to go back to Adult Planet and tell them.
Exactly. Exactly. And kind of living between those two planets uh, was this space I had occupied. And I started to realize that both places had great gifts to give each other. That childlike planet needed the wisdom and needed some of that experience. The adult planet needed to lose a lot of that cynicism and return to some of the childlike things. And so it's almost if you could get them to communicate, to see each other more, to understand that we're stronger together. We need each other.
So how do we, losing cynicism, how do we do that? Because it sounds like there was part of this, you mentioned like it was one of the few times people weren't asking you for something. So I'm, as an outsider, you have a concept that's really successful. It's an amazing, like people, like there's a lot of people watching this, myself included, that like, I'm going to work my butt off on growing my YouTube channel. It's very likely I won't, like, Beyonce won't overlap with that. Like, I mean, I'm going to do my best. Like, I'm going to have a plucky, good attitude. But like, so you blow up this thing, you probably start to get a lot of requests from a lot of people who need a lot of different things. Do you yourself feel like, wow, I feel pulled in a lot of directions and I need something that doesn't, like where I, like somebody doesn't, they're not asking or taking from me. I just get to be present and give, like, how did you shake some of your cynicism if you picked up some of it in the success?
Well, it was coming from a couple of places. One is this heavy fear of nothing I create will ever have the same impact or allure. I mean, we've done the things. We went to the moon, like we did that.
How old were you when Kid President ended?
So I was 30. 30.
That's a wrap, folks. That's a wrap. Roll it up. We did it. We did it.
And I start thinking there's actually a line in the Kid President pep talk where it talks about that if Michael Jordan had quit, he would have, if when he did make the team in high school, he would have never gone on to great heights and make Space Jam. And it's like, what will be your Space Jam? And so I really started to think, I made my Space Jam. I made the thing, and I'm done. So there's a bit of fear and that I can't replicate this. I can't do this. And then there was also feeling pressure as people would, you pitch TV shows or pitch other projects, and they just wanted that same thing again. They wanted you to deliver what you'd already done. And so you have all these voices swirling around you and also swirling inside you. And the project that was successful didn't come from that place. Like the project that succeeded because it came from a place of fun and love. Yeah. Like I just loved it. I wanted to do it. And it was my true north. It was everything. It's my voice completely.
You weren't hyper calculated. It wasn't that you sat down at 24, 25 and said, how do I figure this out in a calculated way?
Right.
It was you found something you loved and then you gave yourself to it.
And I wish that I was that guy. I wish that I could have strategized it all and said, I planned this. Yeah. But that's not the way it was. And I had found that working with kids knocked cynicism out of me. It started when I was working at camps. We had these programs that we did with junior high and high school students where they were doing projects to help their community. And where other people would see problems, they would see, oh, we can do something here. We can actually make something happen. And just feel like that was contagious to be around. And then I would leave that place being with young people and I would land somewhere else and they were like, this won't work. We can't do this.
Yeah.
And I found I needed those reminders and I liked being in that space far more than this isn't going to work. And so whatever I could do to carve out a path that involved me hearing the voices of kids and helping me tap back into the childlike voice inside me.
But it was also, so it was the kid voice, but there was also, you went to retirement homes. Like you did, there was a lot of adult interviews in this. What was that part of the project like?
And that's something that now I'm like, I want to do even more of that. Like if I did another book in this spirit, it would be a lot more of senior citizens, because I spent all this time with kids and was asking, what's it like to be a grown up? Like what's a good grown up? And then I realized I hadn't really talked to any grown-ups, and I'd been with teachers and these amazing educators and parents. So when I started talking to people over the age of 100, I found that I didn't have a list in my head of people that I really wanted to be like. Like there weren't a lot of people that made growing old look like a destination I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Like the whole problem was I didn't really want to be a grown up. Nobody had showed me, hey.
Yeah, but that train is going. Like that train's in motion.
And so you're like, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah.
And then I found these people who were like 102, 104, and it was just like talking to fifth graders. And not in the, they were simple and had regressed, but in the, they were fully alive, fully grateful, like so in the moment, where they were so excited to be talking to me. And not because they were lonely, because they also they were surrounded by people that loved them. Like they would just look me in the eyes and be like, wow, we're here.
Yeah.
And had things. One old man, he was 102, and I asked all of them, what's the secret? Is there some big secret like that you reveal?
Hopefully it's one and I can do it tomorrow.
Yeah. I need like cheat codes. How do I not die? And this guy's response was that he's always had a dream. And that really struck me as true and powerful. And this idea that his whole life he's always had a dream. And you think about people who really grow old and sad, there's something that's died already in them. It's this thing, that's beautiful thing they're marching towards. And I don't think this is in the book, but I had made a list of a lot of things I wanted to do and a lot of people I wanted to work with. Like I had written down Beyonce and Steve Martin and these people that I wanted to work with, and then it happened.
Wait, you met Steve Martin too? You Steve Martin as well? This must be exciting. Tonight must be very exciting for you. Go on.
You were on the list.
Yeah, that's a long list, Brad. Let's be honest. If I made the list, that's like Jack Kerouac's scroll he wrote On the Road on.
And and you have these things where these heroes, these people that the dreams happened. Yeah. And so I became afraid, like, oh no, if I have a dream, it might happen.
And isn't that true? Like, isn't that so I'm curious, like, so I've heard Elizabeth Gilbert, I saw her TED Talk about how do you follow up Eat, Pray, Love? Like, it's impossible. Mathematically, like, J.K. Rowling, there's not a second Harry Potter that's like she's going to stumble into where it's like, it's Mary Potter and it's a whole new universe. Like, she's done an amazing thing. She'll do amazing things again, but like, if you measure it by that, so I want to, like, how do you give me the pep talk you give yourself when you open that Word document or however you write and you post this successful thing that did really well and took you places you couldn't have imagined. How do you do that? Like, how do you put the first 100 words on a page, or how do you, and I don't think it's a one-time thing. I feel like it's a process. It's a lifestyle.
Yes, it is. There's a guy, a filmmaker named Nirvan Mullick, and he did a video that is called Kane's Arcade, and so good. It's one of those beautiful projects. It went crazy viral the year before Kid President went viral.
Okay.
And when we had our first big video blow up, he sent me a message. And again, it was one of those situations where all these people were sending me messages wanting something. And he wrote in saying, I just want to tell you, I had this happen. I had a video go viral last year, and this is what I wish somebody had told me. And it was like this warm blanket he threw my way, this like lifeline. And he just said, because his project involved a child he cared about, it involved like everything. We were soul brothers in that way. Mm-hmm. And he said, there will be opportunities that will come up. There will be people, there will be challenges. Keep your love for that child at the forefront, and let that be the deciding thing. And what a gift that was. And then that's been kind of the guiding path for everything else going forward was, okay, I can't let I need the success of this to match this. I need the numbers, the match, like all of this. Yeah. Instead, everything needs to not be done for love. It needs to come from love. It needs to be
for versus from. Come on, dude.
It is. I can't do this for applause because there will never be enough applause for me to say, yeah, okay, we're good. Got that. There will never be enough awards or notoriety. Like, and so then it becomes an act of, like with this book, I set out to say, I want to be a great grown-up. And I'm thinking that means big things. That means take my kids on massive trips, throw parades for them, like all this stuff, when really it's just showing up out of love over time, over and over.
Again and again.
That's what does it. And so it's the same in any work. The art that I resonate with came from somebody who had this thing inside them they had to share so badly, and they did. And I respond at the same love in which it was created.
Well, and I'll say right now, like, I have a sincere belief that, like, if I get one amazing idea from a book, I've underpaid. Like, if if somebody said like $20 for an amazing idea that sticks with you is such a bargain. And so, like, that's one of those, like, everybody who's watching this, go check out Brad's book. It's Becoming Better Grownups. This isn't the end of the interview. This is just me mid saying, I think you should read it. I think you'll love it. How do you, like, I'm curious, how do you know when it's time to end a project? Because there's this part of the creative that, like, you don't want to let go. Like, we want to be Joe Montana in Kansas City being like, I still got legs. Like, I can still, like, how do you know when it's time?
Well, sometimes everybody else around you tells you, and there's that version. There's that version of it. But then there's also that constant check-in of, am I doing this from love or just for people's attention? There comes a point in which you realize the purpose has not changed, but the way you're going to serve that purpose has changed. And the project as it was must fade out. For Kid President, there was a point in which the way we were doing it was no longer sustainable for us as a family, because we wanted Robbie to have a normal childhood in which he could go to school, and he was not interested in those things. We wanted to be able to continue the work that the videos were doing, where they were impacting classrooms and families. But then it's going, well, we're actually able to create other ways in which we serve this mission, where we do the work. And so it shifts. And I'm still trying to figure out what it would look like to have done it differently. Like asking, should there have been a harder endpoint? Should there have been a place in which we graduate? Should we have, like, passed the torch to a cat or something else?
Like a really charismatic cat, like with nice eyes. Like, but then that's like,
I didn't want there to be anything that would compare to the other and try to repeat that.
Yeah.
Put pressure. I also don't enjoy the pressure of the idea of putting another child in that circumstance when I don't know them and I'm not with their family. Like it was just a unique moment.
Do
And so,
you ever struggle with, because I think this is a very adult thing, to struggle with the idea of more? Like, I could have scaled it more. I could do more. Like, that's something for me. Like, you know, YouTube's been hard for me because I haven't done it because I was focused on books. I was focused on public speaking. Now I'm into YouTube, and it feels like not knowing your neighbor's first name for 10 years and it's too late to ask. So like now I feel super far behind. I should be doing more. Like when I show the world my thing, they go, why didn't you monetize it 47 ways? And I'm like, I didn't know that. So it makes me not want to do a thing. Like, how do you as a creative deal with kind of more?
Yeah, because our imaginations are so powerful in this of always being able to see the possibilities of, oh, we could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And I have to realize that there will always be more that I could dream up. There could always be more ways we can do it. But it is not a healthy path for me to go down, to constantly worry about where we could have gone. I've done that for a lot of time, for a lot of things. But I'm trying to use it in a way where I learn as far as how I'm going to approach things next, and that use my imagination for what I'm really gifted at, and bring in friends who are experienced in the other side. Because I've faced the same challenge on YouTube because it changes so much all the time. YouTube itself will, they sent a thing to creators that was, here's the content that people are wanting. And then they updated the PDF like the next day. This whole thing. It shifts so much. And I'm not wired to do that way. So surrounding myself with other imaginations.
If the PDF said horses are hot right now, like people love horse content, you're the kind, like you're at a place now where you go, but I don't have a horse. Like I'm not a horse expert. Like I could temporarily get a horse and fall off it, but like if that's the key to the kingdom, I got to do my other thing. Is that, I mean, do you think that comes with age? Does that come with experience? Does that come with being wholehearted? Like, what does that come with?
Well, I mean, we are at a place right now, like with our creative space, of really focusing in on what we can do well. And there was a time where we were throwing everything out and just trying, like, we're going to try this on social media. We're going to try this. We're going to do this. And then laying out a compass and kind of saying, okay, here's where we want to go. And here's where our gifts are. Let's focus, go all in, put our energy around this, and try to do those things well. And that's just kind of where we are at this point. And I'd love to be, like, I want to have a theme park. Like, I want to do a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of I want to be like Dolly Parton, you know? Dolly Wood.
Yeah. At this point, who doesn't? Right.
But right now, I want to do this well. Yeah. And
so was illustration always part of what you wanted to do well, or did that come along?
It was, yeah. Well, it's so, I love that you asked that. You did homework.
I have questions written down. You
really did.
I know I look casual, but very serious interview. This might be the start of a new career. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, this is huge. So I always did want to do illustration, always, but was too afraid, because I would try to draw a person, and that person would look like a potato. Sure. But it would be funny, and there would be a charm to this potato person.
Yeah.
But like what I wanted to draw never looked like what. But I had these ideas I wanted to express that felt like this was the best possible way to do it.
Yeah.
And then also as a kid, like my dad's a farmer, grew up with very practical parents.
Was he a potato farmer?
No, but that would make sense, right?
I'm trying to put the pieces together.
Cotton and pigs. Cotton
and pigs.
And the only adult, I somehow saw one of those specials where Charles Schultz was drawing Peanuts. And I saw him drawing Charlie Brown and Snoopy. And it was a revelation because I was seeing an adult do what I loved and was talking about it like it was serious. He was like, this is my art. This is my thing.
It was a craft.
Yeah. And you see that he's doing this. So it's something I've always done. And only in recent years started sharing it publicly. Mm-hmm. And it's been really rewarding and really fun. And I'm still like trying to get to a place where I feel comfortable sharing them. But it's kind of like that whole quote about poems are these things that are like lumps in the throat that Robert Frost talked about, that a poem is like a lump in the throat. It has to be shared. You have these ideas and things that it hurts if you don't share it. So it's
what
not
would you
perfect,
say to
it's a mess, but I have to share it.
So somebody's watching right now, they have a thing and they're not sharing it. Like how would you encourage them to get over the edge?
Yeah. The worst thing would be you never doing it, always hiding it. There's a woman in the book that was in a retirement home, and she wrote children's music for several years and never shared it. And somebody actually heard her playing on the piano and was fascinated by it and discovered that she had like a whole stack of this really incredible songs she had written for kids. And we did a project where we got to share her music, and we got to share it with a whole group of people singing her music. And it was this moment late in life where she finally got to see the gift of what she had sat on for so long actually be experienced. And the thing for me that I still struggle with is well, why me? Like, why should I share? There's better artists. There's definitely better illustrators. There's trained illustrators.
Sure.
But what helps me, and James Victori is an artist who's been
he's amazing.
He has been such a good mentor because he just like swoops in when he sees things that resonate with him. He sent me a message one time and he was just like, hey, I can tell you're having fun. Go have even more fun. Like, be messier. Yeah. And it was just this, oh, thank you. Like, your work's incredible. But he was like, no, don't worry about the lines. Have even more fun. Go make a mess. And I see this in my kids when I see both my daughter and my son draw something, and each of them have their own way of expressing it. And where I want to be is in a place of realizing that what I have to share and what Jon Acuff has to share, it will, if it has our fingerprints on it, it has value. It has something that needs to be shared.
If it has our fingerprints on it, it has value. That's like the other, holy cow. So James Victori, I love him. I did coaching with him.
Oh, you did?
It was totally worth it. Like, he brought so many notes to our coaching session and was like, hey, you're really stuck in fear. You're really stuck in fear. I have a new book. He starts one of the chapters. Like, I wrote about that conversation because it was,
I love that.
Like, he just blew up some things that were really, like, I brought him all these reasons I couldn't do something and, like, excuses I couldn't. And he just was like, no, like, he wasn't having it. And lovingly, but, like, holy cow. Yeah, he's worth a follow. James Victori, Victore. I'm going to do a live with him on his account, I think, the week of the 20th. But I'm curious. I got, like, 2 questions left because I think we could talk all night. Do you own a lot of markers and pens? That's my first question. That's a pretty easy question.
Yes. And actually, always on the hunt for more. There's something about being able to just make a mess by hand. And,
that's the best.
And yeah, we've got all sorts of weird crayons and different things here. That
What's your marker? Like, what's your go-to pen and marker? Are you like, oh, I love Copic or Copic or whatever that is, and like?
No, I do like some of that. I always carry this. This is just a Papermate Flare.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but you can buy a dozen for like a nickel. So it's like if you lose one.
I create. There was recently I started trying to look at like what sort of art that Eric Carle used, or what sort of like paintbrushes that they're using, or all that. And then I heard a kid, it was actually the Beastie Boys, Mike D. He has a podcast, a radio show, and his sons were on there, and they were joking about asking some DJ what kind of iPad he used. I thought, yeah, that's pretty pointless. Just to
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like the magic isn't in the instrument. Like the magic is in Mike D.
Right. Like, it is pointless for me to like be trying to hunt. What pencil did Charles Schultz use? I want to I would never draw rain the way he does. I would never.
Right. It's like my laptop is the same laptop somebody else wrote something amazing with. Like.
Yes.
Do you read comic books?
I do. I was actually a kid who didn't read like the cool comic books, because everybody would read like Spider-Man and X-Men.
Or you're reading like Kathy?
I was reading like Beetle Bailey. I loved like the Donald Duck comics, all these things that were very gentle. Everything else was too, I was like, this is too scary or too whatever. And so like I embarrassingly got into all the comics later in life. Like so I've been diving into.
Do you have graphic novels at home right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I put this in my new book. No, I do. Like I have a ton. I put this in my new book. We were at dinner with like a really fun couple that we barely knew, and we were talking about like, oh, how'd you move to Nashville? What do you like? What are your hobbies? And I was like, oh, I love graphic novels. And it got really awkward. And my wife jumped in and was like, he means comic books. Because it sounded like they thought I meant erotica.
Oh, really graphic.
They thought I meant erotica. Like that I was suddenly like, I love long form porn.
Yes.
Like it's not even about the plots for me. I don't need the plot. I don't need a storyline. I just want
really graphic.
Yeah, and Jimmy was like, "Oh, like stop! Don't tell people you like graphic novels. Like it's awkward at dinner." So like,
a novel's okay, but graphic.
They don't think Batman. They think like worse than 50 Shades of Grey. They think like 90 Shades of Teal. Like something super, like something you have to get in a black market. This is my last
what I've been
question.
reading recently, I've really been discovering things I never knew. Like I started getting into X-Men, and I love the new versions that they did, where it was Grand Design, where it kind of looks like R. Crumb did X-Men. It's really this cool design. And then I discovered that there's this whole series of X-Men that were in Canada called Alpha Flight.
I didn't know that.
The Canadian X-Men, Alpha Flight, and I'm fascinated by them.
Like a lot of geese stuff, like a lot of geese adventures.
Yes, geese. Well, actually, the head guy, he has a maple leaf on his uniform. It's so
like
great.
He throws syrup at people? I don't know. I'm just riffing.
But that's been fascinating. And then the thing I'm most fascinated in comics right now is the Nancy comics have been brought back to life. Have you seen any of these?
I haven't seen any.
Okay, it's very good, very smart, well done. The original Nancy comic is really surreal, and then over the past few years, they've like had different cartoonists come in and do it, and now there's this incredible woman who is taken over, and she has modernized it, and it's weirder than ever and smart, and it looks like it did back in the 40s.
Oh, good. Do you read any Chris Ware? W-A-R-E?
Yes. Yeah, I love his art. Yeah.
Like his books are like, I mean, I don't know how long they take. This is my last question. Tell me, like, you have a squishy job, much like I have a squishy job. So I want to know, average day is never true because every day is different. Like, but give me a general sense of like, I like to create in the morning, and then I play with my kids, and then there's a dog I pet. Like, give me a general sense of it's a Monday for Brad. Wait, when there's not a global pandemic and you can't go outside.
When there's not outside course,
or you'll kill a grandparent.
Daily.
Now, though.
The before kids, I think I would have had a routine where I said, "Oh, I like working late at night," and then we, and then when you have children, it changes. At least it did for us. And then when I started working from home and having our own office and doing all, I had to really create a rhythm for myself. And so for me, it's morning is getting everybody up and going, and then a hard start. Like I have to start like 8:30. By 8:30, I'm in. And
is it a room? Do you shut a door?
We have a workshop, like a separate building, and it's where we can film, we can paint, we can
how big is it?
So I'm actually here now. It's an old building that it's kind of, it feels like a garage, and,
nice.
And it's a space where anything can happen, and so it's a space where we can make a mess. And I carve out a space in the morning where I do the thing that is most pressing, the thing that we're most excited about, so that I can then reward myself to do the other thing that's not due immediately, but that I have to do, or else I'll lose my mind.
Wait, so you do the first thing where it's like, I got to do this thing. This is moving something forward. And then there's this is the rewarding. If I don't get this lump out of my throat,
yes.
Like it's going to kill me.
Yes. Because if I go backwards and if I do that first, then the other work won't have the same passion. It won't have the same, for me, and I know other people have like, let's do, I'm joking. I'm laughing because I see in the comments my wife gave specific square footage.
1,000 square feet. And then I saw somebody said, could Jon stand up inside it? Because I'm very tall. That's a thing that I'm like on the internet. I'm trying to get that going. But
right. That Jon is
mild success with that.
Well, yeah, I speak in very abstracts, like it's like a garage.
Yeah, I asked you how big it was, and you did this, like you did this with your hands,
me no good with numbers or words. But I think I create patterns for myself in order to make sure that I can show up in the best way. Because if I create a pattern where I have to show up in panic and meet a deadline, that doesn't lead to good work. If I do it where I just have to have a rhythm to it.
Dude, I create panics for myself because if I show up in panic, it won't be the best work. Like, that's genius. Like, you need to do an additional book about creating different things, because I think that's been so helpful to hear that part of the story. But this has been a blast. Like, absolutely loved it. I love that we live in the same state. I love that we both know Harris, who just checked on. And
hi, buddy.
We did an event. The last event that Brad and I did together was the story with Harris, which is brilliant. Yeah. And I remember it was the pre-show meeting. We were coming. I don't know if you remember this, and they were saying, "Okay, what does everybody need? What does everybody need?" And then they were like, "Okay, Brad, what do you need?" And you're like, "Well, I need you to raise the chandeliers in the symphony." Like, they're chandeliers that like Abraham Lincoln carved when he was a child on in Illinois or wherever. And you're like, "I need them to raise them. I'm gonna shoot a confetti cannon. We're gonna bring 37 people in to sing." And then we're gonna and then they said, "Jon, what do you need?" And I was like a mic, like if you have like a mic. And I just kept elbowing you because it was so fun. Like, I just loved it, and I love that we get to be in the same space together. Yeah. I love the work you do. I think everybody should buy your book. It reminds me, like, the heart of it reminds me of Orbiting the Giant Hairball by Gordon MacKenzie. I don't know if you've ever read that.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. I love that book.
Just like the illustrative style of it. Like, one of his principles was when somebody comes to him for an idea, this is before he passed away, it's harder now. if they told him an idea, he would say, go for it. Because he was at a corporation and he said, everybody's got enough discouragement and their idea might work. I just want to level the playing field. And so he'd say, go for it. And so I feel like those two, like your two books remind me of those two things. So love this, love this, love this. I hope it sells 1 billion copies, and I hope that when public speaking is back on, we get to do events together because they're fun. We've done two, and you're how far away from Nashville are you guys? You don't have to say your address, but are you like an hour?
It's about 2 hours between Nashville and Memphis, so right in the middle.
Okay, because I need to come see this now that I know that it's 15 feet in the middle.
You would have to bend just a little bit because of your height.
Just the middle. I'd get in, like, I would stay in the middle. I couldn't be on the edges. I find that in a lot of buildings, I'm a middle guy. Okay. I have to find the spot, like, when I'm in the Duomo.
Just in case, we'll have a helmet.
Yeah. That'd be nice. So, Brad, thank you so much for doing this. If there's anything I can help to do with the book, let me know. Go follow Brad.
Thank you.
His lovely wife is right here and has been so fun to see all the stuff. Oh, search. Now, is it Montague? Is that how I say your last name?
Yeah, Montague. Like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Montague Workshop Joybird on YouTube, and you can see a tour of the space. So that's a great ad. So hooray for wives that'll jump in and add details to everything. So thanks, Brad. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thanks everybody for watching, guys.